Okay. I'm just waiting on a notification. Okay, and boom. And we are live. I want to thank everyone for tuning in to a very special edition of Off the Record on the People's Podcast this afternoon. We have an incredible guest with us, an amazing author, Sister Katrina Muhammad, who is here. I'm very humbled. We're very humbled that she would take time out of her busy schedule to give us some information as well as some inspiration. Assalamu alaikum, ma'am.
Wa alaikum salam, sir. How are you?
Excellent, excellent. My sister Naima says assalamu alaikum. My sister Miriam says peace, family.
Oh, give them the greetings for me.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you all very much. Boom. Okay, well, the first thing we
Oh,
want to know, the first thing we want to know, Sister Katrina, is what was behind you making and writing this amazing book?
okay. So this book right here, Relationship Talks. You see, I've got my little notes here.
Yes, ma'am.
um, Essentially, brother, I'm a part of the statistic of married and divorce, and I can be real with mine. Isn't that how the young people say? I can be real with
Yes,
mine.
ma'am.
So, in being real with self and doing what the
Mm-hmm.
minister has told us to do, which is self improvement. When something happens in your life, go back, look at yourself, right? And try to
Yes, ma'am.
figure out how the next time you could do better. And that's what I did. I decided that the person I had married, at the end of the day, we were not compatible with one another. So it's
Mm.
not about shaming the brother or, let me tell you what happened. It's not about none of that. At the end of the day, we were not compatible. And in my research, most of the divorcees that I spoke with, that was the situation. When I started getting real deep into some of the questions that this book asked, I found out things from people that said, wow, I never asked that question.
Mm.
Wow, I never even thought about that. Yeah, that issue came up in my marriage. I wish I had, I wish we had discussed it in courtship. Maybe we could have found some solutions before everything just kind of blew up in our face. So at the end of the day, the high divorce rate in the Black community, which is Brother Minister Nuri quotes it in his book as 75%. My data and
Mm.
research is anywhere from 50 to 60. So it could be as high as 75%. And in the Nation of Islam, he said around 20% in his book, after you say I do. Um, just to go to show you, no one is immune from this problem called divorce.
Mm.
But yet
Mm.
it affects so many, and it ends up affecting other parts of our lives. Like when the family breaks up, it ends up affecting the church. It ends up affecting the mosque. In some cases, it affects the workplace. I mean, so many things kind of a trickle effect of negative things occurring when a divorce occurs.
Yes, ma'am.
So keeping the family unit together is very, very important. And I intend the next time around to do a better job at that by making sure I ask the right questions.
Wonderful. Yes, ma'am. And when you say ask the right questions, could you give us an example of one of the questions that might be the right questions?
Yes, I can give you an example. Like, for instance, in the finance and work chapter, the very first question, and that's the first chapter in the book, by the way, because finance is the number one reason for divorce.
Mm.
The second was infidelity, trust issues. The third is communication. So there could be even more reasons than that, but those were kind of the top three reasons that I researched that causes divorce. So a question would be like question number one: do you believe married couples should have separate accounts, a joint account, or both? I mean, that's a serious question. Some people, especially how they handle their money, what they do with their money, you know, it's like I don't, I don't want to have a joint account with this person. I don't necessarily really trust them. Or like question one in family and friends: should a person consult with their spouse before allowing a family member or anyone else who may need assistance to move in their home? I mean, we used to do communal living as Black folks. It would be 3 or 4 generations living in one home. We don't really do that too much these days. And then, of course, you have situations where people just move family members in. They don't even discuss it with their spouse. For some people, that's
Mm,
not a problem. For others, that would be a big problem, right?
mm.
So that's something you need to talk about. Or, for instance, privacy and health. Do you believe it's okay for a spouse to answer the other spouse's phone, text message, or email? I mean, some people say, that's my phone, that's
Mhm,
my
mhm,
email.
mhm,
This is a
mhm, mhm.
privacy issue. Yes, but
Okay.
then some spouses say, when you're married, there is no my email, my phone, my personal, social media account. We're married. So that means what's yours is mine, what's mine is yours, right? And other people are
Mm,
like, no, I didn't sign up for that. Like, we didn't talk about that. And so these are things you have to discuss, or even sharing your health record with another person. Some people feel like that's I don't have to tell you, what's going on with me and my health and going to the doctor. And others are like, what are you talking about? We're married, we're a team. If you get sick, it's called sickness and health, right? That's the
mm,
vows that
mm.
we said. So I do need to know these things. So all of this stuff you need to talk about before you get married. And many times people are not having these conversations for all kind of reasons. Maybe they're embarrassed, not necessarily because they have something to hide, but they're just, these are very sensitive personal questions. And some people feel a certain kind of way, maybe a little nervousness talking about it, but you have to talk about it.
Wonderful. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. And we look forward to diving in some of these questions today. Sister Aisha Muhammad says, Assalamu alaikum. And Brother Joseph, the incredible rap artist, says, Assalamu alaikum, Brother Josh. Answers to Katrina, wa alaikum salam, family. Okay, let's go back to the finance situation. Now, you're
Yes.
saying that you started with finances because it's that important. Is it always the men who have the finance issue, or is some of that on the women as well?
No, I have questions in the book asking, if a woman makes more money than her husband, are you okay with that? And how would you handle that situation? Because we're
Mm,
finding in more, well, increasing times, I can't quantify it as more or less. I won't do that. I'll just say increasingly, you have women who are working, and increasingly, women are making decent incomes, and in some cases, more money than their spouses. This can create issues and problems in some cases, especially if they don't talk about who's going to manage the money, how they feel about the money. Because really, money, people, there's all kind of emotions behind money. And also, people grow up differently. Some people grow up in homes where they're taught the importance of saving, and so they're very responsible about their money, their credit, all of that. Whereas others, they weren't raised that way. And so they don't have the same emotion or even thought process behind money, how to manage money, what they do with their money. All of that needs to be discussed. And then you have situations where someone may grow up and feel like, okay, once we're married, I know I'm a career woman, but once we're married, I'm expecting to be a housewife. I want to be taken care of. And then the
okay.
brother's like, well, wait, when I was courting you, you had a job. we were, what is going on? Like, I don't understand. And so you have to talk about that, talk about what your expectations are, be real about it, so that you're not walking into any surprises. The main thing that I found from married couples that I interviewed and divorcees that I interviewed is that when the issues arise, it was because these were surprises. These were things they had not talked about. Also, things they had not planned for, such as a spouse losing a job, a spouse, for whatever reason, they're on disability. I mean, all these things can affect the income coming into a home, or in some cases, a child that needs assistance, financial assistance, or another family member. So now you're taking money out of your home, out of your household budget to help with some of your other family members. Maybe you didn't anticipate that as a newlywed couple. How would you handle that situation? If, someone's cousin, your favorite cousin calls you and says, look, I'm in a jam, I have a situation, I need some money, and it's a really large amount. Would you just loan it to this cousin, and then they have this caveat in there saying, well, I'm a little embarrassed that I need to borrow money from you, so please don't tell your wife, Josh, right? And then you're like, okay, I'm just gonna loan it to him. Would you do that? Or would you say, no, I'm not loaning you this money, even though I had the money to loan you, but my wife and I, was mine is hers, was hers is mine. I'm not doing that. So if you want me to loan you money, she has to be involved in the decision making of if we as a couple are going to loan you money. All these type of things you need to discuss, because you may feel a certain way and she may feel another way.
Mm.
So if you talk about it beforehand, you have a better likely chance of staying out of conflict and disagreement.
Okay, yes, ma'am. Well, speaking of that, but when we say richer, is it really richer or poor, or no, based off of your study?
What do you mean by that? Give me a
Like you're saying finances is the cause of it, right? It's the cause of a
yes,
lot of divorce. But
yes.
the spouse is richer or poor, but then when it hits poor, what's going on?
Yeah, exactly. What's going on? It's almost like people are not talking about they're not talking about how to handle the situation of not having money, how to handle it as a couple, how to get themselves out of that rut and into a better situation. It's almost like they're not talking about that. It's people are doing the straight up fantasy thing, brother. They fall in love, they have this wonderful courtship, they ask a few questions. Oh, she cute, oh, he cute. Next thing you know, they walking down the aisle, everything they think it's lovely. First year is wonderful. They had a honeymoon. I don't know. Everything is going smooth. Then here come the problems in year three. Like
Mm.
statistically, the problems come around year three to year eight. Divorces tend to happen around the seventh or eighth year. And so there's something going on between that stretch of time of year three and year eight. It's almost like the first 2 years, guaranteed honeymoon. You're going to be on cloud nine, cloud 100, whatever. You're going to be super
Mm.
happy. You're newly married couple. It's wonderful, right? But then here comes year three. Now, what's interesting is we know something about that number. Year three,
Mm.
number three is what?
That's
The trial.
right.
And so I find that to be not coincidental, because, when Allah does things, it's not a coincidence. I think that's very interesting when I research that divorces tend to, and marital problems tend to happen around year three through year eight. But yeah, this is, and so when I researched all this and I started reading all these articles and talking to all these people, I realized that there was a whole nother group doing it better. And not because
Mm.
they're better than us. We're the original people.
Mm.
They're not
Mm.
better than us.
Mm.
How they gonna do something better than us? So who is this group? This group are the people that practice arranged or matched marriages. Their divorce rate, check this out, bro. Their divorce rate is 4%.
Mm.
I mean, what? Their divorce rate is 4%. The Black community divorce rate is anywhere from 50 to 75%, whatever floats your boat, whatever number that makes you feel comfortable. That's a long way from 4%. So in my mind, I was like, okay, well, what are they doing that the rest of us are not doing? Meaning people who self-select their spouses, right? Essentially, what they're doing is they're doing this. They're doing relationship talks.
Mm.
I researched these communities, and they have these people who specialize in matching couples. They actually, let me tell you something, bro. This thing is so high science. This thing is like, it blew my mind. They have couples fill out questionnaires of anywhere from 2 to 300 questions to
Mm.
learn more about them. Let me tell you what else they do. They interview their family, they go to their home to see how they really live. They give them test scenario or situations to see how they will respond. And only after all of that do they then match them with someone. And then they pair them on these supervised chaperone, which is what we do, chaperone outings, where first the families meet. And if the families like each other, then the guy and the girl, they meet. And they meet briefly for only like an hour. They come in like the office, they sit in the conference room, and they
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, talk for an hour. We're going to see if you all want to take this further. We'll be back. And everybody leaves the room. And then if they want to go further, then at that point begins the courtship, and then the rest is history. 4% divorce rate, bro. 4. So obviously they're doing something right. So when we think arranged and matched marriages, it's not, some child bride situation. Some people, they think, no, this is you do have a choice. They are showing you some information about the person prior to you even meeting them too. They show you a file on the person and, just give you a little bit of data. Are you interested in meeting this person? Yes, I'm interested. And then they set up the meeting where you're meeting in the conference room and all of that, right? But I mean, just phenomenal. I was blown away by it. So then at that point, everything clicked in my mind. Allah just brought it to me. And I said, we have to have some kind of guide book of questions in all of these different aspects of life: finance, family, intimacy, um, transportation, privacy, health, all of everything that encompasses life, a slew of questions, and then get down to the heart of how a person really feels about those subjects. And then look for the similarities, because it's about similarities. Now, will you be 100% matched with someone on everything? No. That's not going to happen. And are we looking for perfection, perfect people? No, no one's perfect, right? But you do need to try to find as many compatibility markers as possible. And inshallah, the book that Allah helps me write, Relationship Talks, will help people do that. My goal is to help us all. This book is not just geared towards Muslims. There's language in here regarding for Christians and even people who don't subscribe to any religion.
Mm.
All of these, what we all have in common is somebody has a boo. Somebody has somebody they care about, whether you're
Yes, ma'am.
Christian or Muslim or, you know, Buddhist, whatever, Hindu. We are in relationships, we are in marriages. The cycle of life continues. We have to just make better choices. That's all. And I think our community, we need help with that. We need help with that.
Excellent. Well, how can we where can we get the book? On all platforms. Can you please let us know?
Okay, so it is on Amazon. So you can always go to Amazon. If you want to personally buy the book from me, you can do that too at relationshiptalksbook@gmail.com. Email me, and then I'll send you my Cash App link and information, and you can get it from me directly, and I'll ship it to you if that's what you would prefer. We will be having a virtual book club the fourth Saturday of every month. So our book club starts on the 23rd next week. Yes, I'm so excited. We will have a wonderful guest speaker on finance chapter 1. So I really hope everyone can attend. Please email me again if you'd like to participate, or you can find me on Facebook at Relationship Talks Book as well. But you can email me at Relationship Talks with an S, book at gmail.com.
Okay, wonderful. And I see a lot of people showing you love in the comments. Thank you all for watching the People's
Oh, all
Podcast.
praise to Allah. How you doing, Facebook? Thank you for watching. Let's
Yes,
have
ma'am.
relationship talks.
Absolutely. My next question for you is: you have one on a chapter on family and friends.
Yes.
Correct. How? So you're saying it's important that your family and friends like the person that you intend to spend the rest of your life with.
Like, for instance, this question: would you agree to allow your new spouse to discipline your child or children from a previous relationship? I mean, the reality is we have blended families out here. Everybody, I wouldn't say everybody, but many people have had a child with somebody, or, they've had a family with someone. And so there's these blended families, right? Well, then that adds a whole new nuance to the relationship, because now you have children that you had with someone else in this marriage to a man of whom a man or woman that you've just married, and you have to negotiate and talk about how you want your children handled, and if you agree on how to even raise children. I met someone, a dear friend actually, that when they got married, they never had conversations about what school their children would go to or how they wanted to educate them. Well,
mm,
when the time came up for that child to begin school, lo and behold, one spouse was a fan of private schools. The
mm,
other spouse detested private schools and was a fan of public school. And
mm,
so
mm,
they ended up having a lot of other marital issues, and so they got divorced. But the issue was, well, what school are we going to put our child in? Well, because the one spouse detested private school, that person refused to pay for private school. And the
mm.
other person said, what do you mean? Why would you, what are you talking about? And so when I asked the question, well, didn't you all talk about this, before you got married? The answer was no. I didn't think to ask. Why would a person have a problem with a private school? So there's so many questions on friends and family, from how to run your household, the expectations you have for your children, how you plan to even discipline your children, parent your children, when you think parenting stops for your children. That's
Mm.
important. Some people are like, my child can stay here however long, until they get themselves together. Other people are like, are you kidding me? 18 and done. You're out of here. You got to go. I don't know where you're going to go, but you got to leave here, And
Yes,
so
ma'am.
those type of things you need to talk about. Or for instance, family members who might, like the scenario I gave you earlier, a family member needs to borrow money. You have one spouse that feels like, oh yeah, I love my family. Whatever they want from me, they can get it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't even matter the amount. Done, right? It's family. The other person might feel like, well, I know it's family, but we are a family. So it doesn't work like that. Maybe that doesn't work for us. You have to talk about it. You really have to. You
Okay.
have situations where people have family members. For instance, maybe you have an ex and you have family members. When you come to family events, they're inviting your ex to the family event. And you're like, look, we're not together anymore. Why do you keep inviting that person? They're like, well, I'm friends with that person, right? Well, now you need to let the new person in your life know and understand that when we go to so and so family's house that gives these family functions, there's a possibility that they might be inviting my ex. And so your new spouse they deserve to know that. They need to know that so they can be prepared, and they're not walking blind into a situation that could create discomfort or even cause drama, right? And
Mm,
so
mm,
all of these things you need to talk about. And they might be unpleasant, especially if you have had family situations of, my uncle so and so, he's an alcoholic, and so, whatever stuff, everybody has these things happening in their family. And some people don't want to talk about it because they think it makes them look bad or it makes them feel bad, but it's still a part of who you are. And the person who you are courting, engaged to, or newly married deserves to know these things.
beautiful. Praise be to Allah. Brother James Williams says, Assalamu alaikum family. My sister Naima says, important conversations. And everybody who's watching, can you all please share this on Facebook now so that I can make sure I share this on my personal
Oh,
page as
yes,
well?
please share. Please share.
Yes, ma'am.
Here's another
Excellent.
one. Should married people have single friends they hang out with at times? I met couples that said, absolutely not. Once you're married, all your friends, your whole circle needs to be married, because if not, that can cause problems. And then I've met other people that said, what are you talking about? I'm not going to dump all my friends just because they're not married. No, absolutely not. I have questions on here. Should married people go out with single people, like their single friends, like on
Mm, mm,
outings or whatever? Some people feel like absolutely not. Only married couples. Other people, sure, I don't have a problem with that. Like, as long as they're not going anywhere indecent, right? But
mm.
then now we have to drill down. What's indecent? What's indecent to you? Some people, a strip club is not indecent to them. To other people, it is indecent. They're
Mm.
like, that's indecent. You
Yes, ma'am.
shouldn't be
Yes,
up
ma'am.
in there, not even for the wings,
Yes,
for no reason at all. Remember that
yes, ma'am.
NBA player that left the
Yes,
bubble and
ma'am.
he said, I just want to go get some wings.
Yes, ma'am.
Like, no, you shouldn't be there. So all of these things, all of these things you need to talk about. Also, and when in courtship, when should you introduce your children to your courtmate? Some people feel like I'm not introducing my children to my courtmate until I know for sure this is somebody I want to marry. Other people feel like, no, I do want to introduce my children to my courtmate because I want to see how they get along. And also, my children have a right to an opinion on
Mm,
who my spouse should be. Other people feel like
hmm.
that's my children, they're just going to learn about who I marry on the day of, they don't have a right to know. And so everybody has different opinions, but family and friends, I mean, they're a big part of our lives. You need to definitely talk about family and friends.
Excellent. Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Naima, for sharing it. Brother James Williams says 100. So Latasha says, "I'm liking everybody. Like Islam." So Latasha. Okay, yes, ma'am. What about friends of the opposite sex? Is that addressed? Is that an issue?
Yes, I have many questions about that because I had when I introduced or when I interviewed some people, I mean they had some dear friends that were of opposite sex, and so the question was if your new spouse was uncomfortable with that person and asked you to end the friendship, would you end the friendship? And
Mm,
people were like, they were like, wow, that's kind of hard. Like I don't know. And I mean, again, you have to discuss it. I tell people in this book at the very beginning that this book is not giving you the answer to anything. It can't give you the answer. People feel how they feel. This book only provides the questions to ask, right? And
yes, ma'am.
so if you're not giving up your friendships of the opposite sex, okay, the person who you are courting or engaged to or newly married, they need to know that. Of course, in our faith, we talk about making sure that they meet, your spouse or your courtmate or your fiance, right? They meet your friends. Like that's important. And if that
Yes, ma'am.
person refuses to also be friends with your spouse, then that's a relationship that you might want to consider not having because it could potentially cause problems in your marriage. That's in our faith, right? But other
Mm,
people, they don't really subscribe to that. Their friends are their friends and they feel like, hey, that's my business.
yes, ma'am. Yes,
You
ma'am.
know, who I'm friends with is my business. I don't need to get permission from my wife or my husband on my friendships. So everyone has a different ideology and personal
Yes, ma'am.
opinion about things like that. I say in the beginning of the book, this book doesn't give you the answer. There are no wrong answers except those that go against the laws of God, right? So as long as you're decent with your friends, maybe that's not a problem. But I've met couples and interviewed couples where the wife, um, or I'll flip it around. The husband knew the wife had a friend, never really thought that friend was an issue or problem. Come to find out, that other friend had like some kind of crush that they were holding on to. And lo and behold, one day a problem happened. And
Mm,
then next thing you know, that friend became, the other person, which caused a
mm,
break in the marriage and interfered in the bond, the marriage bond. So
mm.
it's just really something you have to address.
Yes, ma'am. So you're saying that other friends may cause entanglements?
Exactly. And like Jada Pinkett, right? Entanglements, that word.
Yes, ma'am.
And I mean, it's just you need to be on the same page. So if you've never discussed it or talked about it, it can definitely cause problems.
Mm, wonderful. Now,
But
I wanted to ask
a
you
man or
about.
woman may meet someone and their person's like, I'm cool with you having friends. I don't necessarily need to meet them. Person said, oh, good, because I feel the same way. They might be perfect for each other. Great.
Mm,
You know, the problem comes in when one person feels one way, the other person feels another way, and they never talked about it. And then now they got a situation or problem. Why avoid all of that? Put it all on the table right from the jump, right from the start, and make sure there's agreement. What did we learn from the minister? Agreement is what? Love.
yes, ma'am. Yes,
Agreement
ma'am.
is love. So when you don't discuss things, to even find out where there could be a disagreement. And then next thing you know, you're married. Okay, now all of this stuff is coming up. Now you got a problem when you didn't even have to have a problem.
Excellent. Yes, ma'am. Now, and thank you all for liking, sharing, and subscribing to People's Podcast. I appreciate that. Sister Katrina, I got a quick 60-second commercial break for all of the sponsors because we're going to come right back
Sure.
to some more questions, especially dealing with the privacy issues and the family and friend chapter. We want to make sure we give a preview to everybody of some of the upcoming chapters of what's coming up.
Okay.
I want to start with if you would like to be a sponsor of the People's Podcast or make a donation, Cash App, $sign of People's Podcast. My brother Rashad, Street Premier Media Production. They have a 4K camera, drone, television, and film editing. Thank you very much. My sister Miriam, ABC I Love Me, children's and coloring book, both of which are on Amazon. Thank you very much. My sister Naima, Stay on Point Dance Academy, LLC. We love our tiny dancers. She teaches ballet virtually to young girls all across the country. Thank you very much. Nations Auto Sales, LLC. He ships cars and trucks from everywhere. He's stationed out of St. Louis. Thank you very much, sir. MTS Car Bros, any make, any model, any year. Reach out to them. They're stationed in LA, but they'll ship the cars to you wherever you are. Also, Raising Black Millionaires, Sister Tia Muhammad. She teaches economic empowerment and development through flashcards to young Black children. Very necessary. For the Kenneth Muhammad, bow tie maker extraordinaire. He'll ship the bow ties to you anywhere in the country. Thank you very much. Of course, our brother Tydex McGraw, Supreme Team Insurance. We need some insurance, reach out to him. Coming right back to you, Sister Katrina. The Mecca Project in Detroit, where they are fixing homes in the city of Detroit, Brother Kamal, and then they're, helping create our own environment. Brother Chantel X, he pays truck drivers weekly, and he specializes in refrigeration, shipping all across the country. Thank you very much. Real Hip Hop Network, they have their own network where you can get paid for your actual streams. However many streams you get, you start getting revenue. So if you have a platform and you want to put something on a platform, let them know. Brother Jabbar Muhammad, Client First Construction, painting, carpentry, flooring, plumbing, etc. Chicago, Illinois area, as well as the Memphis, Tennessee area. Make sure you reach out. Masteries of the 7 Units, A Sister's Pathway to Do for Self, Sister Landra El Muhammad. Stop Talking the Teachings and Start Living the Teachings. That's her new book. Dr. Henry M. Carter, King Henry's Turkey Legs, right here in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm coming right back to you, Sister Katrina. COVID-19 disinfecting cleaning services in Chicago, Brother Rashad. Make sure you reach out to him. My father's book, A Soldier in the Movement of Christ, AbdulSharif.com. And last but not least, my 2 books, Cleopatra, which is on Amazon in a children's book, and also No Father, No Excuse, which is on Amazon. I thank all of the sponsors, all of the donors, and everyone who cashes that to keep the podcast going. Boom.
Boom.
Yes, ma'am. Now, Sister Katrina, I wanted to ask you social media, right? And you said you had a thing on privacy and with emails. Is that a big deal as far as having in relationships? Do you have to have the passwords and all of that? What is that about? What have you saw with that?
My research showed that social media has caused up to 30% of problems in marriage. And that number is steadily rising as social media is becoming more prominent and used in homes. So when I say social media, I'm talking about people maintaining friendships on social media that maybe their spouse doesn't know about. People who are posting things on social media that their spouse probably wouldn't agree with. People who have private social media accounts that their spouse may not even know of. All of these type of issues. I have met couples that said social media was such a problem, especially for instance, like spouses, people DMing someone who's married, all this kind of stuff. I mean, it tells you, at least the status on Facebook tells you if a person is single or not. But I think maybe you don't have to show that. I'm not sure, but it does have that on there. And so there would be situations where the wife complained that, or the husband complained that their spouse was getting all of these messages in their DM. It was just causing conflict and chaos in their home. So they decided to get rid of their social media accounts altogether, their private
Mm,
accounts, and not have any social media accounts. Or they compromised and had a joint account where they only had one account that they both used, and their account was under the name of Mr. and Mrs. type of situation. And then the profile picture was of them as a couple. And so they no longer had private accounts. I mean, different strokes, different folks. I know. I mean,
man,
I've met
man.
people who are like, look, that's my private account. I'm not giving my password. I do not think I should have to share that with my spouse. That person just needs to trust me. Right. And then other people who are like, I don't have a problem if my spouse had a social media account, but I would like the password. And if I use it, it shouldn't be a problem if I get on their account, or if I want to see something in their account, they should not have a problem with that. And so these are things you have to discuss. I know you're like, is that really a big deal? Yes, it is a big deal. It is a big, and then how about answering the phone? I met and interviewed lots of couples where the phone was an issue. Like, you had people that would put passwords on their phone that they would not share with their spouse. Other people said, look, if you do have it password protected, I'm your spouse, I should have the password. I should be able to
Mm,
pick up your phone at any time and look at whatever text message, who you're calling, whatever. And then another person would say, I mean, why are you doing that? Why are you treating me like that's offensive? Like that makes me feel offended that you would want to do that. You're almost really trying to accuse me of something when,
mm.
I haven't done anything. I don't want to live in a situation like that. So you really just have to have conversations on privacy. And as a married couple, how much independent privacy do you have or do you want? Versus, I guess the opposite situation, but you just need to discuss it. You need to discuss all of this. And it
Okay,
gets
great.
it gets sticky. It gets it gets kind of interesting because people get really passionate about things like their social media accounts and their phones.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, and I agree. And I just somebody who's not married, I don't see a problem with somebody knowing my password, any of that. But if you start going through my phone, then what are you saying about me though? What are you saying? Because I don't mind like, oh, yeah, here's my password. Okay, it's cool. But if I get on Instagram and it's like, oh, somebody already looked through this, it's like, what are you looking through my Instagram? You know what I'm saying? What you doing? I mean, could that be a sign of somebody who's looking? Could that be a sign of something?
I won't cast judgment either way because you're not getting me in hot water. Oh no. I mean, I just know people who feel a certain kind of way about things. I mean, people who feel like, well, if you have nothing to hide, then it shouldn't be a problem. Like, why is it even an issue for you if you have nothing to hide? It's no big deal. Here's my phone. You can go through my phone. And the person's like, I don't want to go through your phone. This is not about your phone. This is about my. You really have to be on the same page about that.
Okay, great. Yes, ma'am. Well, these are some of the questions I wanted to ask. Also, activities. You have a chapter dealing with activities, correct?
Yes. So after each chapter, there's a section on activities for that chapter. So, for instance, chapter one on finance and work, there are finance and work activities. Friends and family, there are friends and family activities. Privacy and health, there are privacy and health activities. So after each chapter, there are activities that the couple can do, so that the whole point of the activities is so that you're not just observing what a person says, but what they do, right?
Mm,
That's very,
mm.
very important. And then also, I asked for the receipts. You got to get the receipts.
You gotta get the
So it's
receipts.
you got to get the receipts. So I mean, for instance, in the work, in the finance and work chapter, a receipt would be someone's W-2. If this is you want to tell me how much money you make, great. Okay, can I see your W-2? That W-2 is going to verify that. And if a person is more of an entrepreneur and they don't have a W-2, then let me see your yearly bank statement. It should have in there the number of deposits you've made. It should be something. Exactly. There should be something to verify you are who you say you are. That's basically
Okay.
what I'm getting to, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Because here's the thing, men and women, and I've met
Okay.
brothers
Okay.
who have married sisters,
Okay.
and I'm not necessarily, I use the word brother sister as Black people, so I'm talking about people outside of the nation. I'm not talking about nation business. Let
Hmm.
me be clear about that. This is not about nation business. This is just about people in general, right?
Hmm.
Where they thought a woman was whatever she presented herself to be, but then they got married and it was like the switch flipped, and it was just kind of like, who are you? Where's that
Hmm.
woman that I was engaged to, or I was courting, or whatever, all this time? Like, who are you? Like, what is going on? That should not happen. You have to get receipts, because people do lie. People do misrepresent themselves. People do pretend. People do make more of themselves than what they really are. And so, I mean, a lot of that happens not necessarily because it's malice intent. It could be that person just really, really likes that other person, and they're trying to present, a best self. Unfortunately, a best self that they're not really, that they aren't really, truly are, but they want to be with that person. And so, okay, but it's not okay. You got to get the receipts, and you can't leave it up to that person trusting to say, okay, that's okay. They said that they're this type of person, or they have this type of quality.
Hmm.
No, you have to go a little bit deeper. So you do have to ask questions. You do have to get receipts. You do have to look at their behavior. That's what this book is about. And the activity section is giving you an opportunity to look at their behavior. Another activity, let's say a person is like, oh, yeah, I can manage money. I'm good with managing money. I don't have a problem with that. Okay. So there's an activity that asks the two
Okay.
of you to go to, let's say, a grocery store. You've already decided on a meal that you want to cook,
Mm.
and a certain amount of money, a budget amount of money that you have to shop in order to cook that meal. So you go to the store and you pick out these items, you purchase these items, and you keep your receipt, and you share your receipt with one another to see if that person stayed in the budget or out of the
Mm.
budget.
Mm.
Simple exercise. For someone who can stay in budget, it should be no problem. They should be able to pass that with an A.
Mm.
But someone who struggles with that, maybe not so much. And maybe you can see some things about that person. Just one simple exercise. But I mean, this is what you have to do if you want to really understand who you're with, and I mean, getting married to someone is a very, very serious thing. And I just think sometimes we don't take it as seriously as we should. And maybe because people are thinking in the back of their mind, hey, if I make a mistake, there's always the attorney and those divorce papers. Hey, no big deal. It is a
Mm.
big deal, because you're creating all these ties with people. You have children. Now you have all these children with all these multiple people, that can create a problem. That can create a problem. So no, I think we need to get more serious about our marriages, and we just need to make better decisions right from the start.
Absolutely, I agree. My sister Miriam says that brother Josh got to get ready to show that phone and those bank accounts. And then
That's
Naima says,
right.
and the social media fest. I'm not engaging. You see what I'm saying?
I love that you
Sister,
have sisters that are on top of it. They're gonna keep you honest. I love that.
yes, ma'am. And I don't know, whatever. Sister Loving wants to know, what is the name, ASA, what is the name of the book?
Oh, relationship talks. Relationship talks.
Okay, relationship talks. Excellent. Now, when you're speaking of the finances, the bank account, and all of this, are you telling me when should somebody do that? If I'm just talking, we just courting, or people not in dating, like when should somebody do that?
I'm really glad you asked that question. I have an introduction in this book where I talk about that whichever chapter you choose to go to, the education, religion, the privacy and health, the friends and family, the intimacy, the finance and work, whatever chapter you just decide to go to and have conversation about, it should be when you're ready to share information about that subject.
Mm.
This is a very this book gets into very serious topics. I ask about all kinds of experiences a person may have had in their life. which is private information. People need to handle that with all respect, care, and discretion. So you really should be having, these conversations with someone that you are interested in going to that next level with. That's why I purposely in the byline of this book, I left out the word dating, because dating is, I mean, a person could be dating 4 or 5 people at one time. You know, dating is dating.
Mm,
Dating is not courtship. Courtship is specific process for marriage. Dating is also not engagement. Once a person is engaged to another person, that's making a commitment. You've probably purchased a ring, you've made it known to your family members that you want to get married to this person. I mean, that you've invested at that point. So that would be a good time to make sure you have conversations from this book. So, I mean, essentially what I'm getting at is it needs to happen with someone you care about and that you're pretty sure you want to take things to the next level. And this book is going to help you figure that out. If
wonderful.
you're
Yes,
dating
ma'am.
4 or 5 people, I mean, you might want to narrow it down to one, you know,
Yes,
and
ma'am.
then
Yes,
have
ma'am.
this conversation. But then again, I mean, for those people who are like, well, how do I narrow it down? Maybe you do need to buy this book and start asking questions, out of this book to whoever you're dating so that it can help you narrow it down, you know. But I just think this book is a lot of work. It's an investment. These are a lot of questions, activities, all this stuff. Why would you want to go through that with someone of whom you have no intentions on taking things to the next level? So, yes, you do need to be careful about who you share your information with, and you need to be having these conversations with someone you're serious about.
Excellent. Praise be to Allah. And thank you all for the comments. And for people who continue to watch the people's podcast, I had a question. Speaking of my sisters, oftentimes I'm very humble, and I'm just someone who looks care about the inside and try to find attraction on that level, more of the mental and just the inside. But my sisters always keep trying to recommend sisters for me, who have a certain look. I keep telling them it's not about looks. Our looks
Like
important.
Beyonce in the background, like that
Absolutely.
poster of Beyonce in the back.
That's her album. That's her album. That's I love her talent. It's not about I don't care about the the outside. But my
Yes.
sisters seem to make it about the outside. What about the inside? Like I care about the inside. What does your books deal with that? Have to say about that?
Okay, so then I would recommend education and religion section, because I ask people things like Allah God has 99 attributes. Which ones have you noticed in yourself? Which are you still working on?
Mm,
Another question, what does equally yoked in the Bible mean? Do you believe we are equally yoked? If so,
mm,
why? If you are not sure, please explain. Another
mm.
question. The Holy Quran states that a man should bring the good before requesting. Okay, let me go to another. Sorry, sorry. Sorry about that. No, no, no. Let me go to another question.
Yes, ma'am.
Um, have you ever had a life coach, and would you be interested in finding one? Do you aspire to hold a position or post within your mosque or your church organization? Um, the Holy Bible says a wife is a gift from God to the husband. Why? What's the meaning? So
Mm,
these are
mm,
questions that will tell you a little bit more about a person's character, personality. Um, for instance, if you attend church, how long have you been a member? Do you like being a member in your church? Please explain. Um, Another one, if what if one spouse wants to move to a particular state for religious reasons, but their mate doesn't want to move? Who should compromise? For men in the nation, NOI, what do you like most about your Fruit of Islam class? Do you attend often? How often? If you don't
mm.
attend, why? And the same question for NGT, right? So, I mean, there's all types of questions in here that will help you understand that person's character and that person's integrity. I have a section in here called What Would You Do? What would you do is filled with lots of scenarios. So, for instance, one scenario, I'll give you the first one. It says, scenario, you make a purchase and the cashier gives you back too much change. Do you keep the money or inform the cashier and return the extra funds?
Mm, mm,
Another one. Here's another one. Scenario: you make a purchase, but you are charged less than what is advertised. Do you bring it to the attention of the merchant clerk or say nothing? Or another one: you receive someone else's mail by accident. You open it and find money inside. Do you give it to the post office, take it to the right person, or keep it? I mean,
mm,
these are, if you think about it, integrity, integrity and character. And so there are over 30 some odd questions, or no, actually about 21, but I have some other scenario questions towards the back, um, asking, what would you do in these situations? And no judgment. It's not about judgment. It's just, what would you do? Okay, that's how you roll. It's just good to know. And if you ask people a series of questions like that, you can begin to fill in the blanks of kind of what their character, their integrity, their honor, really what they're about on the inside.
mm,
And that's what this book does. I also ask questions, sometimes similar questions, in multiple ways throughout the book, because what I'm trying to help the person who's asking the question discern is the truth from a lie. It's very difficult for people to tell consistent lies. It's not
mm,
difficult for people to lie, but consistent lies is definitely a challenge. That's why many of
mm,
them, don't get on the witness stand because, that attorney is going to ask them some questions that's going to trip them up, and they're not going to be able to keep the consistency of the lie, because actually it's hard to remember. Our law is so wonderful that when we tell lies, there are so many markers that the body gives off. People start sweating, they start shaking, their eyes start shifting. They cannot remember keeping up or keeping track with, okay, wait, what did I say? I know he asked me or she asked me this question a week ago. What did I tell her? How did I say that? They can't keep it up. They can't keep
mm,
up with the lie. So
mm.
I ask similar questions in this book in multiple ways so that when you're asking questions, you can discern the lie from the truth. But it's going to be important that you pay attention to what you're asking people, and you're also taking notes yourself. So that's on you.
Wonderful. Yes, ma'am. And my sisters are, being Mimi, Sister Miriam says these are good questions. The answers can reveal a lot about a person. My sister Naima says she thinks that I'm going to be keeping the change. I'm only going to keep the change to take it right back to that person to make sure that we are keeping everything on the up and up. Let's be clear about that. Listen, this is Katrina. I just want to thank you for getting this
Thank
book. I
you.
look forward to getting my copy is on the way. Everybody else, make
Yes.
sure you go get your copy so that we can discuss. And please, Sister Katrina, let me know when you're going to have. Um, I'm sure you're gonna post a flyer of the book club
Yes, the virtual
so that
book club.
everybody can join in. And I look forward to joining in. Is it gonna be Zoom or on the phone? Like how is it gonna be?
It'll be Zoom, and I will
Okay, yes,
definitely make sure you get the invite. And please know that your book has already been mailed. You and I talked about that. You have the tracking number and everything. So
yes, ma'am.
USPS, unfortunately, yours was supposed to be delivered. I think it was on Tuesday, and they're running behind. So I do apologize, but your book is on the way. And I hope you love it. I hope you enjoy it. I can't wait for you to get your hands on it and go through it. I will say one more thing before we conclude. I want to thank student minister Jamil Muhammad. He wrote the foreword to the book. This is important because he gives that male voice to the book that I think is really, really important. Sometimes, a book written like this in the brothers see a female, a female wrote the book, and they're like, I don't know if this book is for me, I mean, it's a girl book, it's for girls, whatever. But student minister Jamil Muhammad wrote a wonderful foreword to the book where he gives towards the end the top 4 takeaways from the book that you will learn. And I wanted to just share, if you don't mind, I just want to share that. He says, you will start noticing that it is easier for you to identify and express your own thoughts and opinions. Your own thinking will become more organized, thus allowing you to be more concise and efficient in your conversation with your spouse, fiance, or prospective courtmate or suitor. Relationship talks can open up a window into our own ways of processing thought. As you improve your relationship with you, this is number 2, and begin to settle on the best part of who you are, subjects that are once cringingly uncomfortable will become tolerable and then enlightening. Indeed, when you know your own self better, you can navigate the world around you with much greater ease. Number three, the novel and ingenious system of questions that Miss Muhammad introduces in this groundbreaking new approach to an age old activity will allow you to get control of information as opposed to the other way around. Number four, lastly, you're going to have fun. Yes, I use the F word, fun. You and
Yes,
I
sir.
need to be able to ask and answer the tough questions with a smile. I'm not saying you'll giggle your way through telling your boo all about the open warrants that came up out of that lost weekend in Reno. But when we understand that nobody's perfect, we'll be much less hard on ourselves because we aren't. I really love that he wrote those words because I think they um, they just encompass what this book is about and what I want the readers to walk away with. It's not just a book just to have conversations. I really hope it becomes a book where people can question themselves because first we want to become better. You know, I want to be my best self for whoever my next courtmate is going to be. Well, how do I get there? Well, I have to look in the mirror and I have to ask the hard questions first to self before I ask my courtmate the hard questions, right? So that's what I think this book does. And that's why, really, anyone who wants to have a quality relationship moving forward, doesn't matter if you're divorced or not, there's no shame. Mistakes happen, things happen in life. What I'm saying is, why not take a different approach to do things better? Also, I want to give the readers, your listeners, the opportunity to know that there's a section or chapter in the book called supplemental reading materials. Because this is not a panacea. This book is not the end all to everything. What I am suggesting to the readers is, how about you and your courtmate go and get some of these books and read them together, and then
Mm.
discuss it. And so books like How to Eat to Live, Before You Say I Do, that is Brother Nuri Muhammad, The Black Woman, The Second Self of God, Lady in Waiting by Debbie Jones and Jackie Kendall, The Seat of the Soul. How about Fascinating Womanhood by Helen Anderlin? She
Absolutely.
is a
Absolutely.
husband and wife team. The husband, Aubrey Anderlin, he wrote Man of Steel and Velvet, A Guide to
Yes, ma'am.
Masculine Development. I mean, why not, as a couple, read these books together and talk about them? Talk about them to say, okay, how this can help our relationship. In the volume of the book of Moses, A Sign of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, by Brother Saad Alim, previously known as Brother Burby Muhammad. Nursing Your Marriage by Betty H. Ali. I met her when I lived in Atlanta. She wrote this book. I never forgot about this book. I bought her book. It was very, very good. She's a nurse, so I love how she kind of included that. She Speaks, Michelle Clark Jenkins. Real Love, Dr. Ava Muhammad. The Power of a Praying Wife by Stormy Orderman. The Five Love Languages by Gary Chapman. I mean, there's so many books on marriage and love and family. These are just a few that I, list in here. 100 Love Sonnets by Pablo Neruda. Let's Change the World music series by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. I mean,
Mm.
anybody who gets that box set is phenomenal. Sit down, listen to the music, and then talk to each other about the music. What thoughts came up in your mind while you were listening to his music? I mean, these are things that couples should be doing. Of course, the self improvement is the basis for community development. Read that book together. You don't have to be in the Nation of Islam to read that book. That's a wonderful book to improve yourself.
Mm.
So
Mm.
these are books that I list in here, along with, of course, the Holy Quran, the Holy Bible, that couples should be reading together and then sitting down and discuss that. Let's discuss that surah. Let's discuss that chapter. How do you feel about that? What are your thoughts on Ruth? You know, if you were one of the women in the Bible, who close mimics who you are? Who do you identify with in the Bible? What
Mm.
story impacts your life the most? Which psalm do you like? You know, all of these things are important in terms of just having a deeper, more profound, important conversation with someone who you claim you want to marry and become one with. That's what marriage is, right? Becoming one. Also, we're taught marriage is the other half of our faith. So if marriage is the other half of our faith, which means it's got to be important, it's literally the other half. Shouldn't we be doing that with someone of whom is worthy to do that with? Someone who we genuinely know, we trust, and this person, I mean, this is the right person for us. We have to make better decisions. And the fact that we're not making these better decisions and we're getting married or choosing partners on frivolous reasons like, oh, I like how he looks or she looks, or I like the car he drives, or I like that he has a lot of money or whatever. I mean, frivolous, frivolous. At the end of the day, can you get along? If some conflict happens, how are you going to handle it? Sis, if he loses his job, what are you going to do? Are you prepared to help him out if he needs help? And vice versa. If your wife gets sick, what are you going to do? Leave her? Go, get out, whatever, divorce? Are you going to be there? Are you going to help her through that sickness? I mean, these are some serious issues, and we say these words, sickness and health, and for better or worse, and all that. But do we really mean them, and do we really understand them? I think in some cases we don't, and to some extent, it's not our fault. But then after you get a certain age, you can't keep blaming mom or dad for your problems. You gotta, man up and woman up and get yourself together. And if you have made some mistakes, if you have made some bad choices, it's okay. Don't continue to make those bad choices. Do better. I want to do better. I have to do better. Allah wants me to do better. I want everyone else to have that feeling too. And I want to give them a tool to help them do better. So no more, I wish I would have asked that question. Inshallah, out of the 2,000 some odd questions that are in here, you'll happen on the right questions for you. And guess what? A couple may not need to ask or answer all of these questions in the book. Maybe that one section on finance and work was the issue in their previous relationships, and that is the most important chapter. And maybe that's the only chapter that couple talks about. All praises due to Allah. You don't have to go through the whole book. Whatever you and that person needs. But sometimes, how do you know what you need if you don't discuss it?
Yes, ma'am.
So yes, sir. Thank you so much, Brother Joshua. I really appreciate you. I love the People's Podcast. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
And thank you all for watching it. And I look forward to diving in. And what day will the book club be so I can get ready?
The fourth Saturday of every month, which this month it'll be January the 23rd.
Okay, yes, ma'am. I look forward to it.
Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum, everybody.
Walaikum salam, ma'am.